Bam, 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 bam. Like, I would so badly want to put the horns in there. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of Rise Urban Nation podcast. Today, we have a very special guest who's making her second appearance on our show. Dr. Wright is in the house, renowned social worker, international trainer, educator, and now published author. She got her new book discussing redefining time, a practical guide to achieving success through tasks. We're gonna dive in with Dr. Wright as you're gonna have to help me out with this one. Redefines time management to help us to reach our fullest potential. I didn't know there was something more I could do with my time, Dr. Wright, to reach my full potential, but you about to let me know, huh?
Yes, sir.
Wait, highlight, put the book up real quick. Show the people the book.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
beautiful right there. How many pages is the read? How many pages is the read?
194. But it's 194
Yeah,
with all the details at the end. But the actual, once you finish the book, you're about 176, about 170 pages. Some of that is workbook pages where you have some writing in and some blank pages. So it's a really easy read. It's a good read.
Yeah, and I know it's a pretty easy read because I got the digital copy when we first put it out, and then you hit me back. He's like, I got the hard copy now. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go get the hard copy now. It's such an honor to have you back. For our listeners who may have not checked out the first episode, just to give them a brief synopsis of who you are, can you share a bit about your background and then what led you to write your new book, Redefining Time?
Absolutely. Well, yes, I'm so happy to be back and back with your group and your community. Again, my name is Dr. Marya Wright. And, when I was here before, I was here talking about my business. I'm a social worker. So my degree and my business is really wrapped around social work and supporting the education and supporting the interactions with our community. So, my background is, I went to school in San Diego State. I got my bachelor's, Aztecs for life. I got my bachelor's in social work there. I went to Cal State East Bay and got my master's in social work. And then I just graduated from USC. I'm a Trojan, fight on. And I got my doctorate in social work. And so that's a little bit about me and my professional background. But overall, I am a social worker that works with system impacted communities, families, and individuals, and primarily supporting the professionals that interact with these communities. I've done a lot of direct service work, but I've found great enjoyment in helping the service providers think and expand their ways of engaging these communities, and primarily the Black and Brown and Indigenous communities.
I love that. I love the way you're doing it too, because systematically it's you go get the degrees and you go work in the institution or system, and it seems like you've been intentional about not really working in the institution as a system, but helping the institution and system redefine the way it works with these populations. And I love that about your work. I don't think I've seen too many people who just went straight out of I don't know if you went straight out of college, but like in their early career, look at social work in an entrepreneurial way. I don't is that are you uniquely one of the few that's done that, or was there a path set for you before you started to do that?
There's not been a path for any of this. I have not had any help. I can't credit my work or my progress towards any one person or any entity. In fact, I wouldn't allow anyone to take credit for it, because it's really just been me trying to figure it out on my own, step by step. I would have loved to have had a mentor, but I don't have one. It's just me trying to find a way to make ends meet in a way that works best for me. And, I used to work for the government. I used to work for an agency. And that was my goal when I was a student, when I was getting out of college, was to go work for a child welfare agency. And I really enjoyed that experience. But I also saw the toll that it took on me mentally, emotionally, physically. And not just me, but I also saw the toll that it took on my partner and my family and my household. And so I wanted to make a shift. And so I slowly began to build my own business around education and consulting. And then it got to the point where I realized this is actually something that is very fruitful, and I can do this full time. And so I work towards that experience of being able to do it full time.
Love that. Thanks for sharing that. Now, this concept of managing time. Managing time is a common struggle for many. So can you share a significant challenge you faced in your career or personal life or business related to time management and how you overcame it?
Absolutely. So people always ask me, because when people find out like what I do and how much I do and how I'm able to do it, the number one question I have gotten for over a decade is, Maria, how do you do it? How do you manage? How do you do all of these things? And I would usually just like laugh and shrug it off. And when I was developing this book and I was talking to the publishers and we were kind of talking about what do I want to do or what am I looking towards writing about, it really just came to fruition that I need to respond to this question I've been getting for a long time and start explaining a little bit more about my story. And oftentimes what I share on social media is the excitement, the aftermath, the celebratory experience, but not the barriers, not the struggles that I've had to overcome. Not me being a single mother, having to make ends meet on county benefits, and still getting my social work degrees. Not me losing my father and being the main sole provider of his afterlife experiences. Not me having to navigate unhealthy relationships or having to navigate my own mental health, or even just me having to navigate being bi-coastal and traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast and changing time zones and how that impacted my calendar schedule. So these are some stories that I tell in my book, and I'm honest, I'm raw, I'm giving the details in a very succinct story of what I went through, and then quickly sharing ways that I was able to get out of that, and not just from a high level, but from a very practical level of this is what I did, and here's some ideas, and then this is just what worked for me, but here's a plethora of ideas that you could try on to see what would work best for you. I just, I believe that people get caught up in this sense of if they see themselves as not a good time manager, they don't think that they can reach their own full potential. But my whole book is about challenging that concept. It's not about being the best time manager. It's about being time centered. It's about being mindful about the time that you have. It's about using that time efficiently. And the way to do that is through task management and managing the tasks that you have. So you're maximizing and optimizing the time frame and getting as much done as you can.
Okay, now I gotta dive deeper into that because I've heard of many different concepts to this, and this is actually a recent example of one of our listeners who's an entrepreneur, and I was in a panel discussion for a different event, and so this young lady, she's a mom, right? And she's starting her entrepreneurial journey, and she's like, balancing my career, entrepreneurial career, and motherhood, often, felt it's overwhelming, and I don't know what task I need to prioritize yet. Do I like people have told me to use SMART goals or create like a daily routine? What would you tell this young lady who's struggling, like, all right, what do I prioritize, and like give a tip based on what you just said, of how you would tackle that with this young lady, or advice you would give to this young lady?
Absolutely. So first, I would say you prioritize what you have the capacity to complete in that moment. Sometimes we have a long list
Hmm.
of to-dos. I have a long list of to-dos myself, but the to-dos are going to get done. But sometimes we get so overwhelmed with all of the to-dos that we just don't do anything. But instead of that, think
Mm.
about the time that you have and what can you realistically get done within that time frame, and then what do you have the capacity to do mentally, emotionally, physically can do within that time frame, and that's what you prioritize. Because in my book I talk about this. It's actually research shows that when we can cross off, mark off tasks, whether it be a small task or monumental task, it actually stimulates our brain to be excited, to be yes, provide us like dopamine experience where we're like, okay, I did it. Let me keep doing it. So if you can mark off smaller tasks consistently, it'll actually like provide motivation and propel you to want to keep doing that behavior. And in my
So
book,
you're telling me I could get addicted to doing tasks?
yes, I'm a task-based person. I love task-based work. And me having tasks actually keeps me motivated because it's like I look at everything that I have to do and I'm like, okay, this is a lot. It's very overwhelming. But what can I just get done right now? Even if it's not the top priority, even if it's just like a, something that just I could do never. I'm like, let me just do something. And then I get into, okay, I did that. Now what? Okay, I did that. What's next? In my book, I do talk about SMART goals, and I break them down in a way that people may not have experienced before. Very, very clear how to create SMART goals. I provide like a sentence structure around that. And then I take it steps further, not just the goal itself, but now you have a goal. How can you break that down into objectives? How can you break that down into strategies? And now what task can you create out of that to propel yourself towards reaching that goal? And it's a part of the book. I have 4 parts in my book. And as people read through each one, by the time they get to the end of the book, they will have a great layout, and they may have already made significant progress if they're following along.
Nah. Now, I'm curious, do those same strategies work when you're trying to implement like or master daily organization of your life to achieve work-life balance? And if you can use it, like how would you how would you say somebody uses this in the book to achieve that work-life balance and daily
Absolutely.
organization?
Absolutely. So one of my readers actually posted a picture of that of that paragraph in my book. One of the paragraphs in the book where I talk about this, and it's not about like over scaling your calendar where you're busy every moment of the day. It's again more so not doing that because that causes burnout, but being efficient with the time that you have. So in my book, I share diagrams and pictures of time blocking, and I describe that where you block off
Mm.
time for the work that you're going to do. But I also talk about taking breaks because we do not schedule breaks in for ourselves. And I talk about how I schedule self-care. I schedule breaks
Mhm.
into my calendar. I time block that. And you'll see the imagery in there where I'm showing how and where the time blocking is, or how in the morning I may focus on emails, in the afternoon I may focus on meetings, right? When I may have more energy or capacity. But I talk about this throughout the book, the importance of not overscheduling yourself. And when you have periods of a break, it may be 10, 15 minutes. Don't try to continue to work at your desk. Stand up, walk away from your desk. I always
Mm.
encourage people go outside, get fresh air, take a quick brisk walk outside. It will change your life because oxygen to the lungs and the brain is going to help you. It's going to wake you up. It's going to help you continue throughout your workday, and it's going to do more for you than trying to, complete 2 more tasks within 15 minutes or respond to an email or call someone back. Give yourself that time. People don't schedule the self-care. They just say, "Oh, I'm going to do self-care." On my calendar, I have time blocks where, okay, this is the time I'm going to the gym. This is the time I'm going to go do the self-care activity. This is the time when I'm going to do this. And you don't have to be so meticulous with your calendar, but if you are struggling with allowing yourself to take breaks or giving yourself the break, then you may need to, especially if you feel like you are a like a post to your calendar, like you follow your calendar or you can't find time. Then create the time. Be intentional. Yeah.
That's me right there.
Be intentional.
That's
Yeah.
me right there. So I love, I never thought about using yeah, I never thought about using time blocking to schedule the breaks, but I think that's one effective strategy or concept, time blocking, when you really dedicate specific blocks to time different tasks. This really has helped me with maintaining focus and reducing chaos of multitasking. But now that you mentioned that, to put the breaks in as well, that's like, oh, why didn't I think of that before? Like, that's so practical and just such an efficient, like, realistic strategy that you could use that has great implications for work-life balance and long-term success. And it's something that I was just talking about with a group of leaders earlier today. We was talking about like how sometimes we get anxiety when we have all these tasks to do and all these things to do, and we forget as leaders, that first golden rule, like that they tell us when you go on a plane, when you first step on that plane, if there's a case of emergency and these things pop down, first put the oxygen mask on yourself because you can't
Exactly.
help nobody if you pass out trying to help somebody else put their oxygen mask on. So schedule your break so that you can be revived. Because we all know this is your brain, right? This is where the executive decisions happen. And what happens when we get anxiety and stress? Whoop! That little lizard brain right here comes out. And then the only two questions it asks is this food or am I food? And then at that point, I can't make any executive decisions. So
Cannot.
you gotta take that self-care so you can bring it right here. You can get back to that executive brain to make all those really great important decisions and ideas that you need. So I love that you put that concept in. Um, let's go to an example of a success story from someone who's applied principles from your book. Could you give us one of those?
Absolutely. So, someone was preparing, someone that I know in another state is preparing for an executive director role. And in preparation
Uh,
for that role, they were reading my book. She was reading my book, and she said that it helped her prepare for her interview and to step into this next role, which was really exciting for me to hear because I wasn't expecting that. So everyone from that to someone who is in treatment right now for substance abuse disorder is reading this book. Students that are preparing for the next semester of school are reading this book. And I really tried to include stories that, people from different areas or walks of life would be able to find some story that resonated with them. And help them organize where they want to go or make that progress. And so, even myself, when I reread my book, which I've read more than a handful of times, I continuously inspire myself. I'm like, wait, hold on, I wrote that. Oh gosh, now I need
He's
to.
like, I wrote that. I
I
wrote
need to
that. Oh,
remind
okay.
myself like to do it. Because of course, I wrote my book, about a year ago. And so it's just, it still inspires me, it still inspires me because, it's real stories. It's really relatable. One of the pieces of feedback that I got was that this book is practical and it is accessible to people like lame people. It does not, sometimes when you read a time management book, it's coming from the perspective of like a established researcher or some high level celebrity. And I'm just a regular person. And so when people read this book, you get regular person experience where it's relatable and it's like, okay, this is a tangible, practical story. And maybe it's a little different than mine, but here's how, Maria was able to do it. And, let me find a way for me to do it too. The goal of my book is for the reader to not do the same that I did, but find what works best for them to reach their own full potential.
Man, so when you reread your book, I'm curious to know, because you got so many practical tools and insights. Which highlight which key tool or strategy that re-inspired you or like just warmed your heart that you found to be most effective to for you or your readers.
Absolutely. So for me, I talk about when I look at the tasks that I have to do, I think about what do I need to do right now? What do I want to do? And what can happen later, right? Because sometimes we get caught up. I think, one of your first questions is like, how does someone kind of look at those different tasks? And so for me, what I've been doing this week and, in the last couple of days is looking at everything that's on my plate. What do I absolutely have to get done by tomorrow? What do I want to get done because it's time urgent? And what can wait until later? What can I schedule on a to-do list later? And so I will make a to-do list for like a forwarded date. So today I may say, okay, it's this day of the week. I'll look at that and I'll say, okay, in next week, on a Monday, this is what I'm going to focus on. But today, this is my focus. And the next couple of days, this is what I have to get done. And so I constantly remind myself to not get overwhelmed with the longest list, but what can I move over to a shorter list to focus on right now? And what do I know is not time urgent that I can focus on later?
I love that. So focus on the now. That's not time urgent. That is a great tip. Focus on the now. Okay. All right. And that helps you to be more present in your presence. I don't know. That just came to my head. I don't
100%,
know. I'm
100%.
over
No, it helps
I'm
us to
over here.
be. You're
Go ahead.
remixing
Helps
it.
us to be what?
It
I
helps
know
us to.
remixing it.
I love it. Please remix it. But it does help us to be here in the now and to be present. I talk about time mindfulness in the book and being time centered. And then also, I heard you mention multitasking. People think that multitasking is like a great skill set. It actually, I talk about this, research shows that it actually limits our production because it's harder to focus on. I know, my book is challenging all concepts. There's research in there. I have citations. But but it
I proved to you. I got the data and research to show you. I'm gonna go to my data, but then I'm gonna go back into some real life experience, y'all.
yes, yes, yes. But it's when we focus on multiple tasks at once, it actually spreads us thinner. And when we focus
Okay.
on one task and completing that task really well, it helps us complete that one so then we can move on to the next one. But if we're trying to have a bunch of windows open on our computer desktop, or we have all of the devices in our house connected to one Wi-Fi network, what happens? It glitches and it doesn't run as smoothly. And so if we can limit the devices connected, limit the windows open, it actually helps us work better. And those are just analogies. That's not figuratively. I'm just helping people, like, if you think about it, like when we're trying to do so
Yeah.
many things at once, it actually is harder. And so I encourage people to focus on the task at hand, and focus on that to do your best. One of the concepts that I was raised with is do it right the first time so that you don't have to do it again. And the best way for me to do that is to focus on that one thing at a time.
Love that. Um, what lessons have you learned from your journey that you like to share with our aspiring entrepreneurs, particularly the ones that we are so connected to, our Black and Pan African communities?
Absolutely. I would say write things down. We have great ideas in our head. Sometimes we talk about great ideas. We need to be writing these things down. And I've been with people recently, and they're like, "Okay, I'll write it down as soon as I get some paper." I said, "You have a napkin right there." And people don't, understand that the napkin pitch is a real thing. Just Google it. And so it doesn't matter where you have it or what you have in front of you, write down those ideas. Stop letting them swarm in your brain and just keeping them there. Once you start to write things down, then you can start start moving into a manifestation of it. For me, I have a Apple phone, so I have notes on there, and I have so many notes always going, and I have like a notes that's called just thoughts, where I can just allow random thoughts to be placed there. I use other mechanisms to take notes. I actually, in one of the chapters of my book, I describe note taking and that process, and I give a lot of examples and ideas of how to take notes in different programs and physical, electronic, different types of ways to take notes. So I give all of those examples as well. But for me, if you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking about what's next, you should really start to write these ideas down and to start creating diagrams of, okay, I want to do this, and what would be some steps, and kind of work backwards. Or if you're someone who's looking to get mentorship or looking to get an advisor, thinking about who and what would you need from them, and really just, for me, write it down. Stop keeping it in your head, because as long as it's in your head, no one will know about it, and you aren't making progress towards it.
Yeah, that's some profound advice. I swear, I love talking to you and Jordan, aka Jordan Harrison, your
Yes,
other alumni
Jordan.
from San Diego
Yes.
State. Oh, I call him aka Mr. Harvard now. You know he went to
Right.
Harvard, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Harvard now.
Yeah.
Between you, you the doctor, and him, Mr. Harvard, y'all some smarty oddies.
So Jordan Harrison, love him. We were both at San Diego State. We were both student, leaders there at the same time. And we helped open up this student union. And so if you look at any of the
Really? I didn't know that.
yeah, we both did. And there's lots of photos of both of us. They're probably not there anymore because, it's like so long ago. We're so old. But we did, if you look at any history books. And and so when it opened up, we had they had huge letters, like person-sized letters. And I think I was holding up the A. So you see my face in the A. I forget what letter he was holding up. But yeah, we opened up the student union. And it's a huge honor to have been a student and a student leader at that time. And to work with Jordan so
Right.
closely. And I'm so proud of him and all that he's doing. It's really amazing.
And likewise, he's proud of you too. He says nothing but good things every time. Like when we first did that episode, he's like, "How you know?" Da, da, da?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know how we got connected," but he's like, "Oh yeah, that's my sis right there."
No,
I was like,
yeah.
"Now I'm gonna have to go back in the crates and try to find these pictures. I'm gonna find them somewhere and embarrass y'all."
They're somewhere in a history book for San Diego State. But no, he's great. I appreciate him. When I graduated from USC, he personally called me and congratulated me, and I appreciate that. And it's mutual.
I love that. I love that. So, going off that profound advice, and we went down memory lane a little bit. When you go back to what you were talking about, I want our listeners to have a key takeaway before they leave. Like, so share, how can our listeners start redefining their time today with this advice you're going to give them? How can they start redefining their time today?
Look at their calendar and find opportunities to take a 10 to 15-minute break each day. Because you're not going to be able to keep making progress if you haven't given yourself a break. You have to give yourself a break to kind of just recharge. And so there's a lot of examples in the book of ways to progress and reach your full potential. I do talk about taking breaks, but I really want to just put out the sentiment that if you don't give yourself a break, if you don't step away from your computer, you're just going to lead to burnout faster. But if you can, and I think that's the hardest thing for people to do also, is to take breaks. And I don't want them to hear me speak and think, okay, I got to keep going because, Dr. Wright has done all this stuff and I want to do it too. Dr. Wright did all this stuff. Dr. Wright takes naps. Dr. Wright takes breaks. Listen. I am not.
Have you heard of Dr. Wright? Have you heard of the I can't even speak now. Nap ministry?
I have not, but I probably should be a part of it.
Okay, all right. You should check out Nap Ministry. It's another Black woman, and she said something profound. She goes, "Rest is restorative and revolutionary."
I agree.
Rest is restorative and revolutionary. And so I was like, I felt that in my soul, and talking about how in this grind and hustle culture, if we don't take breaks, we're feeding into the system of white supremacy and everything that comes with it. And so to break away from the system and structure, you need to incorporate rest, because everything has a season, right? Like there's a season, like if you look at Mother Nature and how it was intended, there's a season where you're tilling the earth and the ground and watering the seeds and so forth, and then there's that rest phase, and where the watering and growing, and then you harvest and you feast. So you have to be in tune with the cycle.
Yeah, you do. You have to be in tune with the cycle. You have to give rest. And people always ask me, they're like, do you sleep? And I'm thinking, like, do I? I might not go to sleep. I might not go to sleep at the hour that society or other people in the world go to sleep. I'm not going to sleep at 8:30, but I do sleep. And I'm an entrepreneur, so I can, I don't have to be clocking in somewhere 8 o'clock, so that's helpful. But no, sleep is important, and rest is necessary, and breaks are important. And so the biggest thing that I want to share is, if you're not doing those things or you're having a hard time doing those things, that's where you may want to focus. And if you're going to be successful and if you're going to have longevity, especially as an entrepreneur, you have to curate times for breaks, because as an entrepreneur, there is no clock in and clock out. There is no work schedule. There is no union to call. and you are it. And so it's very easy to work around the clock. So be intentional about the time, and allow yourself, give yourself that time to yourself to break.
Love that. Yeah, with sidebar when you said when people say, "Do I sleep?" All I can picture in my head is like, "Girl, I don't sleep. I hibernate."
Oh, definitely hibernation.
That's all I can think of in my head.
I say all the time, I'm like, I just want to be in a dark corner with a blanket and the window open and like just, by myself hibernating. And yeah, no, there's so much value within that. So I hope people find time, after this listening, to make time for themselves and to take that break.
Yeah. I believe they will. And, thank you for thank you for taking the time to write the book and then coming on to share the wisdom with us. So thank you for sharing your wisdom as always, your experiences with us. Where can our listeners get a copy of the book and follow your work?
Absolutely. So the book is a #1 new release in 6 categories on Amazon, for the Kindle and for the paperback. So you can find it there. Redefining Time, just type that in and it will pop up. It's also on Ingram, so any bookstore in the world can find it there as well. Paperback, ebook, hardcover. But yes, definitely find it. You can follow me on social media, on LinkedIn or Instagram. Just type in my name, Marya Wright, and it'll pop up anywhere. But I appreciate the support, and thank you so much for having me back as for a second time for a part 2. It's always a pleasure.
Look, you always welcome back.
Thank
Anytime there's new releases, we're going to have you back.
Thank
This
you.
is fantastic news.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. To our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to the Rise Urban Nation podcast for more inspiring stories and valuable insights. Share this episode with your network and start redefining your time today. We out. Peace.
Thank you.